you.
We're going to go with our good friend and studio guest, Lizz Huerta. Liz, we already chit-chatted a bit about you and your work as an artist, and you told us a little about yourself growing up here in San Diego. Do you have a little bit, can you perform a little of your spoken word for us here?
Yeah. Is this mic working?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
We
just
hear you loud and
checking.
clear.
I can hear myself. Yeah, I will read a couple of poems.
That'd be fantastic.
They're not necessarily spoken word. That's kind of a different thing, but they're words I will be speaking, so they're spoken word now. So this poem...
I'm sorry, it's a poem. I apologize.
It's fine. This poem is called Milking. I wrote it about when I was visiting my father's family in Mexico, and it was nominated for a Pushcart Prize, and it was published by the West Trestle Review. It's called Milking. Because my grandfather seeded as many women as fields, these dark half-uncles roping and whistling in the pasture are strangers with my father's face, their eyes shaped the same for squinting, hands fat with muscle. They show me how to pull the rope taut around the beast's horns, ignore the bellows and heave. Squatting on a wooden bench, Bayin with the silver teeth talks me through the milking. Long unused to intimacy, my hands shake on the teats. I press my face against her warmth, while in the pen her baby cries with hunger. When the milk threatens to spill, Bayin pours, hands me a bottle, and tells me to feed Benito, a red calf born 6 days ago. His mother's udder is filled only with pus and blood. They say she is no good for breeding. When Lent is over, she will be sent to slaughter. I'll be home by then, far away from this rocky place of the cross where my father was born. When Benito finishes his bottle, I give him 3 fingers to suck. His tongue is as long as my hand. Something in me leaps at the unfamiliar heat of a soft, hungry mouth, new mammal eyes. At the other side of the pen, Bayin and another uncle force long, hollow needles into the bad teats, trying to drain the infection. The cow rolls her eyes towards me and moans, long and low. There isn't anything that can be done but wait to see if her body swings back to what she was made for. When she is drained, I release Benito. He runs to his mama. He butts his head against her, bleeding. He sucks and sucks, but she is dry. On the ride back to the ranch, I sit in the back of the truck with the milk. My uncle is telling me how like my grandfather I am, the type of person who prefers skies and field to walls. I agree, though if I lived here, I would have long ago been sent to slaughter. Finger snapping.
Yeah, what was that? When did you write that poem?
It's 2015, so I wrote that in 2010.
Wow.
When I was down at the rancho helping my uncle's milk cows.
That's powerful stuff. I like it. I mean, there's a lot of symbolism and a lot of that fancy artsy stuff that makes you think. I love it.
Going back there, it's like going into a mythological story. I mean, it's amazing. You can't make some of the stuff up down at the rancho.
That's right.
Which is, you come home and you're like, man, that was fun, but I'm glad, to have indoor plumbing.
Yes, of course, yeah. It's nice to have shelter and indoor plumbing, but you got to give it to the people out there in the ranchos. They have a very nice life. It's pretty cool.
They always say, aquí no se muere de hambre. They say we will never die of hunger here because they're all farmers.
Right.
And yeah, they will never die of hunger.
Right. It must be a nice life. Do you have another piece you could share with us?
Yeah, let me scroll through my manuscript.
Oh, yeah. We are definitely in the future when she's looking up her poems in the tablet.
I know. Well, I didn't want to waste paper.
I love that.
By printing.
Can you stop being a hippie for just a little while?
I'm not a hippie. I'm a bohemian. It's completely different.
I love that. Hippie is what you call a bohemian.
I don't know. I mean, I don't want to talk crap about hippies, but I mean, I'm not a hippie. I'm an artist.
Of course.
And there's nothing wrong with being a hippie. I'm just not one.
For all the hippies out there, yes.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it.
No, of course you're not a hippie.
And it's so sad that it's like a derogatory term, like, oh, look at that hippie.
I know.
You know what? Hippies did a lot of good stuff.
They did, actually.
They were well-meaning. They screwed up a lot, but they did good stuff. This poem appeared in one of my favorite new journals to come out in the last few years. If you go to toegoodpoetry.com, T-O-E, Good Poetry. It's run by this guy out of Washington, and he publishes great work.
I love that. Can you give us the website one more time?
Toegood Poetry, Toegoodpoetry. Etry.com. Sorry, I can barely. My blood sugar's low, so my spelling is
Oh
off
no!
today. But Toga Poetry, and the nice thing is, every poem that he publishes, he also does a recording of the poet reading the poem. David Tomas Martinez, who's a local guy from here, Barrio Logan, he had a poem up on the website a couple months ago. So this poem is called Little Song for Dissatisfaction. I am Pavlov's dog, lifting my leg whenever you enter the room. Your hands are perfect cliches on the symmetry you praise. My place, it seems, is beneath you. Coitus interruptus thrice daily for 10, diminishing returns each time. We are willing acolytes to clarity. Clavicles against the broken bed we tied together with shoelaces, we greet another morning. My hat is off to the patron saint of tailors, so does I am to your intention. Disputing the spiritual hierarchy of brown girls, your silly followers. My urban tribal girls back home light candles, urging me to exploit it. I dig how you portray our future as former strangers, though now you would have me reduced to a mouth, a pair of dirty feet in your bed, a sleep thief eager for another invented language of what we don't say, the dirty photographs that could make us famous. Tell me how it is when you feed your animals. Do they lean against your thigh as I? In one of my mother's religions, I could have marked your feet as you slept, made you my goose, but I am not young enough to want that kind of devotion. If I were a romantic, I wouldn't enjoy dismantling satisfaction, but not so long ago, I was done so hard that when I stood up, all of the romance fell out of my body. Because of the blood, I never noticed. Still, there is something luminous in our given moments. It is perhaps because we are human and brilliant in our inconsistencies that I have found you irresistible. Thanks.
All right. No,
Maybe I should start writing poetry again. I forgot how much I liked it.
I guess it's been, you mentioned to me earlier that it's been about 2 or 3 years since you last wrote
Yeah, it's
poetry.
probably been a few years since I wrote, at least 2 years since I wrote a poem. I'm much more interested in working on a young adult novel for our youth.
Is that a project you're currently working on?
That's what I'm working on right now. I really want to write the book that I needed to read when I was growing up.
Well,
you
that's
know,
great.
I loved books, but every time I went to place myself in a story, I had to change my skin color, my hair color, where I was from, because they didn't write books for young Latinas. They just didn't exist. When I first read House on Mango Street, I was 14 years old. I went to my English teacher and I was pissed. And I was like, we're allowed to write about ourselves? Because I didn't know. Nobody had ever given me permission to tell my story. So
That's a great point. What's the name of the Sweet Valley Girls? They're not Latinas.
oh
or nothing
God,
like that.
I was more of a Babysitters Club
The
girl
Babysitters
myself.
Club, that's great. My
Sweet Valley
sisters-
High was just they were a little too good for me.
I
even.
bet. Yeah, you're Lizz Huerta is here expressing herself with her poetry, and I have Aleida Lomeli here, the director. She's really into your poetry. She's looking at me like, yeah, this is good stuff. And then, Eddie Rose is over there focusing on you as well. So you're definitely, art brings out emotions in people, good, bad, indifferent, whatever emotions. To me, that's my personal opinion.
It's true.
Yeah.
I was watching a show last night, and it was such a difficult television show to watch. And after it was over, my boyfriend and I were talking about it, and it was such a hard show to watch. It brought up so many emotions, and we're like, but that's what good art does. We both felt really violated after watching. It's called Black Mirror. It's on Netflix. It's a show from the BBC. It's Twilight Zone for the technology age. But we watched this episode last night that was so violent and disturbing that we both felt really gross after watching it. But we're like, but it was very provocative. And even though we were upset by it, it caused us to have this really long dialogue about what made us so uncomfortable. So good art, even if it disturbs you, it can be worthwhile.
I love that.
But I'm not trying to disturb anybody.
Well, I've done quite a few theater plays. Some of them have been sweet and subtle, but I've been involved in a couple of those shock value plays where you're trying to really bring out some heavy emotion in the audience.
Right.
But it's always been for a good cause. I was cast once as the bad guy cop in West Side Story, and I'd walk into the room and I said, get out of here, you spicks. And, that's a derogatory term towards Mexicans. And I myself am Mexican. And of course, I don't believe that somebody should say that. But people exist. People exist that say that.
Right.
And especially this story that's based 40 years ago, people would say that a lot more often.
I think they still say it a lot in New York.
That's a very, very good point.
All sorts of places.
And my very good friend, Max Branscombe, Dr. Max Branscombe, he just became a doctor from San Diego State. He writes the Pastorela every year. And he's a very, very, very nice author here in San Diego. He's the instructor for the journalism group out of Southwestern College. He runs the newspaper. He told me, oh, Hector, you did a great job acting, especially because you're so against people like that. And my whole thing, that's kind of like our acting trick where, you use your dislike for people in that manner and you use that emotion and you portray it in your character.
It's, I think it's a classic thing in art when you, I don't want to misquote somebody, but Joseph Campbell talks a lot about accessing the shadow side, that darker side of ourselves, because everybody has it.
Yes.
And we think that we can live just these light selves, you cannot be your whole self without addressing your shadow.
Correct. Ooh. You should be a poet. Oh wait, you are a poet. Wow, you got some great words. Yes, you're right. My friend.
Maybe I should have a radio show.
Hey,
I'm joking.
People listening out there? Yeah. Okay. You heard it here first. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't have time. I wish.
Oh, okay.
I wish I had time in my
schedule.
We'll
have you on once in a while. My very good friend, she would cry in that very same play, West Side Story, and some of the memories that she would remember to make herself cry were very, 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 it just gives me chills talking about it, She would put herself through this depression on stage in front of everybody and make herself cry in front of everybody. And when she told me like the things that she remembered to make herself cry, it's like, wow, girl, you put yourself through so much every night. It was just incredible, what some people are willing to put themselves through for the sake of art. It's just incredible. Liz, do you have another poem that you
I could look.
Let's do another one because I think I'm not satisfied yet.
You're not satisfied.
I'm not satisfied with the poetry
It's so funny
yet.
because I haven't read any of my poems in such a long time.
It's like you're reading it again for the first time.
And I feel... I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I really like poetry, which isn't surprising. But I just decided to concentrate on prose.
Yes. Well, we go through different stages as artists. I have friends that are guitarists, and then they became DJs, and now they're guitarists again. So you go through fluctuation. I saw Eddie Rose's art 5 years ago, and now I see her art today. It's way different, And Eddie Rose has evolved as an artist, and we all evolve. As people, hopefully we're evolving. You don't want to stay the same your whole life. But that's what art's about.
If you're not growing, any aspect of your life, whether you're an artist or anybody, if you're not growing, you're doing it wrong.
Totally.
This poem is actually, I wrote it after one of my favorite poets, Alberto Rios, who's out of Arizona or New Mexico. God, I feel so bad that I don't remember right now. I'm a jerk. Anyway.
At least you're mentioning them.
I know. So I read a poem of his, and this is a poem that came out of reading it. It's called Lords, after Rios. The thing isn't much. A woman wearing daggers in her ears. A woman on instructions from her mother went shopping for a net and a basket of eggs to lure their lord down out of the orange tree. In the city of mutilated veterans, they caught her and put her in a wedding, took the dagger, gave her a kit for stitching human wounds. They oiled their guns and took the bullets out before putting their barrels inside. When the streetlights clicked on, one by one, they forgot the woman to crouch into the shadows, hunger there. It was a small wedding, the cake shaped like a flask. It was said she knew how to behave. It was said her answer was the wrong answer. Her hands died as machines, hammering, pulling.
That's the heaviest one yet. Oh my gosh.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Rios.
So you were inspired by reading another poem, and that inspired you to write this poem.
Which is always, this big tree of like the roots inspire you. And
right.
Yeah, Alberto Rios. Yep, that's him. I love him.
Yeah.
So, out of Arizona.
Out of
okay,
Arizona,
yeah.
fantastic.
And he's just a phenomenal poet. If you get a chance to read his work, I mean, he's brilliant. Yeah, you just find inspiration anywhere.
I love it. You make it sound so simple. I love it. But really, it's not that complicated. You know, you find inspiration and you act on it. You know, if you want to be a writer, you could be a writer. If if you want to do poetry, you could do poetry. I got into like acting, but you know, there's many number of things that you could get into. And Lizz Huerta, she brings up some good points of how art is often overlooked. You know, in this age that we live in, where schools are kind of tapped for cash. You know they're not going to give up football. You know they're not going to give up basketball. So what's first on the chopping block? Art.
Art.
And we need art. As you said, artists, that's a great point Lizz Huerta brought up, that artists act as historians.
We're the emotional historians.
That's a great
you
line.
know, like everybody has a soundtrack to their life. Everybody remembers their life based on music, just as an example. And those are artists creating that. You know, we're sitting here earlier before the show talking about these songs and the memories. You know, those artists create a soundtrack for our lives. I don't know.
No, I think that's great.
I'm super pro art.
I love that. So we mentioned earlier how like your recommendations for young people. You know, what if you're not so young? What if you're
everybody is an artist. You just have to get out of your own way. Everybody can create. We are taught so much that we're wrong, and then our own egos come in and our own fears, smash us down. Oh, that isn't good enough. I'm not good enough. I'll never be an artist. I'll never be a writer. I'll never be a dancer. That's all crap. You can be an artist at any age, at any point in your life. I mean, people are artists in ways every single day, When you look at meals that people prepare, that's an art, When you see landscapers working, and that's an art. There's art in everything we do, and it's just recognizing it.
I love that. So what could we do to encourage, okay, if you want to do art, okay, what if you're not into art yourself, but you want to support art? Like, you don't want to be an artist, you don't want to be in a play, you don't want to draw or paint, and you're not into, like, writing poetry or anything like that.
Support local artists. Buy art from local artists. Buy books from local writers. Buy music from local bands, because you know what, being an artist is hard, and it's hard to make a living out of it. And if you love art, support your local artists. Come down to the Barrio Art Walk. Go to all the places, just look in City Beat or wherever. Support your local artists. If you find somebody you like, continue to buy their work, because when you buy their work, you're not just giving them money, you're giving them support, you're giving them love. They know that their work is valued, if it's hanging in your home or your office or your iPhone case, whatever. So support local artists. We need it.
Eddie Rose, how do you feel when somebody buys some of your art?
It's a wonderful feeling.
You sell stuff online, Eddie Rose.
Yes, I do.
How does that feel when somebody, you told me the other day that somebody ordered some of your art from England or somewhere overseas. How do you feel when somebody like that does?
It gives me that drive to keep going, and it pushes me to do better, and to, even if it's just one person buying something or one person in my audience, like that, it doesn't matter to me. It's the fact that my art is being recognized by people, and my name is getting out there. It's the most heartwarming feeling. I can't even describe.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. Lizz, okay, so of course I'm a guy. It's obvious. I mean, I'm a man. People notice that about me. But I have nieces. And, I don't want them to grow up in a world. I mean, I don't have any kids, but I have nieces. I don't want them to grow up in a world. First of all, I want them to, have whatever kind of job they want to have.
Right.
And I don't think that a guy should get paid more than a girl doing the same
No,
job.
I mean,
and that's something that
just,
happens in the United States.
Right.
So, if I'm looking to get my niece, like, I look at you, people like Aleida Lomeli, the show's director, Eddie Rose, who's been kind enough to be here even though she's sick, and look at yourself, Lizz Huerta, being...
I am a business owner in a non-traditional field. I paint wrought iron for a living.
Wow, that is very
I have a
non-traditional.
business called Wrought Iron Maiden.
I love that.
And I'm a badass, and I work on construction sites, and I say, F the patriarchy,
Yeah.
and I do the work. The people freak out when they see me walking on a construction site, like, oh my God, what is this woman doing here? And I'm like, you know what? I'm doing good work, I'm making good money, and I'm taking care of myself.
I think that's fantastic.
And I love it. I love the work that I do.
And I love that you love it because, you're, a bit of a trailblazer, a bit of a pioneer. I want my nieces to be good, strong Latinas with a good head on your shoulders like yourself. And, I could only hope that, as my nieces grow up, they're probably listening to us right now, that they picked up something from, Aleida, Eddie Rose, and yourself, Lizz Huerta, that, you have a very strong, great personality. So thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Do you have, anything else, before we say goodbye, anything you want to tell the people out there?
You can follow me on Twitter at Lizz Huerta with 2 Z's. Instagram is the Lizz Huerta because somebody else named Lizz Huerta was already taken.
Oh, no.
I have a blog. I don't really update it, but you can see tons of old entries.
Oh, great.
It's lavagenius.blogspot.com.
That's great. And you might have to, I'll put that link on my Facebook so that we don't have to
Excellent.
spell it out over here.
Yeah.
Fantastic, Lizz Huerta. Well, thank you so much. Special thanks to Steve
you for having
Rvera,
me.
and thank you, Lizz Huerta, poet and author and essayist, Lizz Huerta. Thank you so much for being on the show. So here we go. It's getting close to that time. It's been a great show. We'd like to thank everybody for showing up today. Special thanks to Steve Rvera. Good luck on all your future endeavors. Special thanks to Lizz Huerta. We will be sharing your links online and making sure that everybody has a chance to look over those. Special thanks to Eddie Rose here in the studio, and also the show's director, Aleida Lomeli. Thank you so much. Special thanks to the Breakfast Burrito Club. Thank you for being awesome. We love breakfast burritos and we love all of you. Thank you, Anna Brown. Thank you, Beto. Thank you, Bucky, and all the great stuff that you do. And you're listening to www.radiopusodelbarrio.com. Community-powered airwaves. We'd like to thank everybody for the show. We'd like to thank everybody for listening. And we'd just like to have everybody out there, stay active, practice art, register to vote, make a difference, help a friend out. If somebody needs food, give them food because we gotta share the bread. If you have an extra slice of bread, share it with your neighbor. So thank you, everybody. You've been listening to No Boundaries, Sin Fronteras with Hector Rvera. RadioPulsoDelBarrio.com. Thank you so much.